Welcome back to Inside Politics. Our guest today is State Senator Jim Tracy. We're talking about the state's transportation issues, particularly what to do about the gas tax, which hasn't been raised in Tennessee since 1989, and we have a backlog of projects of like $6 billion. Senator, the governor has said that the state probably needs to increase the gas tax probably sooner rather than later. Is he on board with this idea that you're talking about of putting off the major decision about that till 2017, just do some fixing things in 2016?
Yeah, I think I'm on board that we're going to have to find a solution to the problem. And,
is he on board with that?
And he's on board with that. I think he understands now that we do have a backlog of projects, we do have a problem. How we go about it, and I've been traveling around to state and other states, talking to other states what they're doing. They're in the same boat we are, with the federal government not doing it. And there's other ways to look at it: vehicle miles travel, gasoline diesel tax is one of the ways. We got electric cars, we got compressed liquid natural gas, hydrogen, all kind of things we're looking at.
Now, there has been quite a bit of opposition coming from a very powerful group that you worked with to kill the Nashville AMP project about a couple of years ago, the Americans for Prosperity. They have a very active Tennessee chapter. They've been talking about holding hearings across the state to build taxpayer opposition to any kind of increase in the gas tax. How are you going to be able to overcome that? People in your legislature pay attention to that.
They do, and you know, my goal right now is just to educate. And I've invited them to my meetings, and they have been to my meetings, some members of the AFP, and I think they're beginning to realize that the problem we have now and the difference between that we're paying as we go. They don't want to go in debt. And, you know, we're elected as state reps and state senators to come up with solutions.
But the real difficulty is they're a conservative group. They have some sway among your voters in the Republican primary, and your members are going to be concerned that they're going to get a primary opponent out of this. So does that mean you won't probably do anything about any of these transportation issues until after the qualifying deadline comes up in April? Then everybody will know whether they have an opponent or not?
No, I think we're looking forward to doing some things in 2016. I think along the way, there's so many things we've got to look at, and I think we'll look at some of the things in 2016.
Now, another way of dealing with this, at least for next year, would be taking some of the money that's coming up in the state surplus, which continues to grow in terms of taxes. This week, I think it was estimated that another $82 million the state over-collected in terms of what they had projected they would get in various kinds of revenues. But a lot of people want some of that money. So how do you referee that food fight?
Well, I met with the governor.
You used to be a referee.
I did. I used to referee. I met with the governor this week, and I told him, I said, I've got a bill to pay back the money that was taken out of the transportation fund back in 2002 through 2008. That's about $260 million, and I think that needs to be paid back, and that'll help in a short term. That's not a long-term fix, and I've asked him to do that. And you're exactly correct. There's the governor said that the other day when he spoke in Murfreesboro, that
that's a long list.
A long list of everybody wants some money.
But one of the people that's in the front of the line for that too are lawmakers who want to repeal the Hall income tax on dividends. They want to use that money in order to keep the local governments held harmless. They get all that Hall, or a good bit of that Hall income tax money, and they would lose it if the state decided to get rid of that tax. How do you work out that particular disagreement? Because they want to move on the Hall income tax now to repeal.
And I'm ready to move on it. I think we do, but we do need to make sure that the local governments are held harmless, as you say. So that is the dilemma we're in. I do think that we're going to work on that Hall income tax, and that'll help the economy here too, I think.
Now, looking long term, there's been some talk about how to change the gas tax. You mentioned some of the new ways people get around it in terms of electric cars and
compressed liquid natural gas.
So how do you do they pay? They don't pay for that right now because the gas is only sold either by diesel or on the regular gasoline. So people who do that with electric cars, they don't pay the gas tax.
They do not, and that's one of the things. It's about equity, about being fair, and we've looked at that, and the average citizen pays about $160 a year. So what are we going to do with electric vehicles? They are traveling our roads.
Now, one of the suggestions that has come up would be to somehow take the sales tax and put that on that. Would that be in addition to the current gas tax, or would you put the sales tax on it, either state or local or both? Would you put that on the purchases by itself and take the regular gas tax off?
Well, we can look at all that. I think all that's on the table. Some states, I like the idea that it's a use tax. The more you use it, the more you're going to pay. I travel 40,000 miles a year. My dad travels 2,000. I'm paying a lot more.
Well, now some states like Kentucky, just to our north for many years, have had a user tax called toll roads.
Yeah.
Now, Tennessee's had a long history of not liking it. I don't know if it's because Kentucky's next door or what it is, but are toll roads something that ought to be on the table in this discussion?
I don't think so. I don't think toll roads to do it. I think the citizens want to pay as they go, and they don't want to use toll roads. And the way the law's written, we'd have to change our law to allow toll roads on existing roads. We do have the ability to put, I think we passed a bill about 4 years ago to allow them on 3 or 4 roads.
But nobody's instituted. There are no toll roads in Tennessee, right?
No, there are not.
And I'm right. There's been a lot of opposition to those.
You are correct.
Now, what about a gas tax based on the weight of the vehicle itself? Right now, everybody pays the same, and whether they get diesel or whatever it is, they get it.
Well, the truckers, for example, the diesel is 18.4, so it's cheaper than gasoline. And I know the trucking association, I've met with them, they understand that they're actually willing and wanting to pay more, the diesel, because they feel like it. You know, long haul trucks, they're heavier. And I think that that's one thing to look at. I haven't seen that one, but I'll look into that. Is
there a way of looking also to the mileage that you drive every year? Would you maybe do a report or something and pay based on that? But that sounds like a lot of paperwork.
It is. Oregon is doing a pilot project right now on that, vehicle miles traveled. You have to form a whole new entity to perform that, you know, all the data to do that. So I don't see that, and I don't see our citizens wanting to know where you're traveling all the time.
You mentioned you've been having hearings across the state. What kind of attendance have you been getting, and where have you been so far?
Really good. I've been to Jackson, and then I'm in Martin, Tennessee, of course, Nashville, Tennessee, Columbia, Tennessee. We were in Knoxville yesterday, and Fentress County, and then I go to Chattanooga and Kingsport.
Have you noticed any difference as you've moved across the state from west to east in terms of what people are saying or thinking about this? Do more of them come in against it in some parts of the state than others?
Most everybody, especially yesterday in Knoxville, they're in real need of roads in Knoxville. Alcoa Highway is a big issue with them. Safety is always an issue. And the rural people, you know, Martin, Tennessee and Fentress County are both alike because they need roads to recruit industry. And like Fentress County yesterday, and then in my district in Shelbyville, having a 4-lane highway, you can build an industrial park on that 4-lane highway and recruit industry come in. So the rural areas look at it as a pathway for jobs. The metropolitan areas look at it as congestion and safety.
Let's take a break. We got many other issues to talk about that are going to be coming up in January when the legislature gets back to town. I'd like to continue our conversation with Senator Tracy after this break.